In this video, we're going to do animations in our 2D platformer, and we're going to be able to switch from an idle state to moving or jumping. We're going to do some other cleanup items as well. Take a look. So the first thing I did was I pulled in an image here. There's a brand new sprite. There's a whole bunch more sprites on it. So we're going to click on, when we click on this guy, we're going to change him to multiple, and then go to Sprite Editor, apply the change to multiple. Just do an automatic slice here because we've got the transparency. Click apply. That'll cut out our sprites for us. So if we just close that window, I'm just going to grab one of these guys right here after I click on my player and just drag him up right here and drop him in. So he might be a little bit too big, or he might be right. Let's just step back from the scene just a little bit. Yeah, that looks fine. So we don't really have to do anything else here, I think. And we have our new sprite, but we have to animate it. So the first thing we're going to do is get the right tools on the screen to allow animation. The first screen we need is under this animation panel. And then the next one we need is also there, and it's called animator. So we have an animator and an animation. So I'm going to put these kind of here for now. We'll probably move them around. And so when I'm selected on this player, we're able to start creating animation clips by clicking create. It'll ask what we want to call them. I'm just going to call this player idle. And let's just save it with the sprites for now. That's fine. So we have this new clip that we're going to start building that's called player idle, and you can do this two ways. We'll kind of do it a clunky way the first time, and then we'll speed it up the next time. So with this animation clip, you're able to pull in any properties from this player to animate them. So you can, if we click here, we could animate the transform and move the player around on the screen. That'd be really funky here, so we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to grab that sprite and we're going to change what that is. So it puts two keyframes on, and you have to be super careful because if you grab both keyframes and delete them, it removes that property off your page. So you can't really do that. I'm also going to move my animation up here for ease of access, because I'm going to grab my idle animations here, and I'm just going to pull these up in, and I'm going to delete out the last one, and just slide this back. So we now have some animation here, and I'm going to pull this back down for just a second. So you can see on enter, we're going to have a player idle, and I'm going to pull this down here now. So when we click the play, we have a player idle animation, and this animator has a state machine that says on entry, we're just going to continuously play through this thing, but it's playing through super fast. If we click on player idle and change the speed down to something like 0.2, he's now doing a slower foot tap. We'll come back and adjust that in a bit, but really we'll do something more interesting first, where we're going to create another player clip. So the first thing we're going to do is pull this out of play mode, make sure that our speed's stuck around, and then we're going to go to this animation. We're first going to make sure our player is selected, and then go back over here to this drop down where it's showing our player idle. And this is going to be the quicker way to create these animations instead of the more manual way that we just did there. I'm going to pull it up here so I can have access to my project files at the same time. So when we do this drop down, we're going to do create new clip. We're going to name it, let's start with the player walk. So we could go up here, add property, add sprites, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these three, and it looks like there's a little artifact problem with our sprites. I'm not going to fix that right now, but that's just a problem with the art. But it automatically added the sprite property for us and added our animations. So if we come back over here to the animator now, we have this new player walk. So I'm gonna put it let's put it over just on the side. It doesn't really matter where we put it. You can kind of do whatever you want with it. But if I zoom in here, just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm gonna right click on the player idle and go to make transition and put an arrow there and right click here and do it back. So now you can see we have the motion up here of player walk. It's got a speed, but if you actually click on this arrow here going from idle to walk, we can add a condition. And what that lets you do is add a parameter here, and we're not going to do any coding today, but we're going to change this to a Boolean and call it walk. Yeah, we'll call it walking because that makes sense at least. So on this condition for going from idle to walking, we're going to say that walking has to be set to true. So then we're going to select this one here, and that reminds me of something else we have to change. But we're just going to go to this condition and change walking to false. So the other thing that shows up right here is that we have exit time. And we don't actually want exit time. Exit time is the amount of time it takes to play through a full cycle of the clip. So if we had stuff that went out here 30 frames, it would have to go all the way through those 30 frames before it would stop. So I'm going to take out that exit time. And then this transition would be like, it would play this one and start playing this one too. That's kind of that's more for 3D animation. We don't ever probably want that for 2D animation. You can play with it and see what it does. And there's also some fixed duration stuff in here. It's not really, we're just not going to worry about that. That just switches this from using a percentage. I'll just leave it checked here. So we've removed this checkbox. We've done that. We're going to do the same thing on this transition as well. We're just going to remove that and set this to 0. So let's test this out, make sure it looks pretty good now. But he's doing his toe tapping, and we can switch his state here by just checking this box, and he's walking super fast. So we have a couple options here on how to fix this. The way I'm going to do it here is I'm going to make sure the player's selected, click on the player walk right here. I'm going to adjust these in here just so you can see a different way of doing this. So rather than just completely adjusting the speed of everything, I'm going to move these out to be 5, and let's do this one as 10, I guess. So let's go replay it now once we've moved those frames out and switch him over to walk. And he's doing a slower walk, and then I'm just going to slightly adjust it here just for the sake of time. So if we do it again, we'll just call that good for now. So we've got our walk, we've got our idle. We need a new animation, so we're going to go do our third animation here by creating the clip, doing player, and then jump. So the editor jump down here. We're going to do a transition up and a transition back because we don't want to get stuck where we can't do anything but jump. So the next thing we need is our jump thing, and we're going to use this little spinning thing. So we pull this up here, we get our sprite. We're going to go back into the game here in a second, but we need a property to say that we're jumping. So we're going to add jumping as another bool. So now that we're in here, we have our player jump. We're not going to know what the speed's going to be set to, but I'm sure it's going to go a lot slower. We're going to get rid of this exit time, get rid of this transition here, and then we're going to set the parameter as jumping, or sorry, jump, and then we're going to set this to true, and then we're going to set this. Again, we're going to do the same thing here, and then make sure we set jump to false. So we have this all set. double check, make sure the settings are right. Okay, so we're gonna go test our animation one more time here. So we're gonna go to jump. It doesn't matter if you check both of these at the same time because you can't physically go from jump to walk. It's not going to really matter later, but so our jump's going way too fast, but if you walk, you can still walk. So with our jump, we're just going to slow this down the way we did it the first time. I'm just going to do this at 0.1. Set this back to jump. Too slow. 0.1, 0.15 maybe. We're just playing with the number right here. I'm gonna go a little bit faster. I'm gonna go 0.2. And we'll call that good. So now we have a jump, we have an idle that I don't like the speed of, and then we have a walk. So let's figure out how we can fix this idle animation. So we put in a keyframe for this idle, but they're all at the same kind of situation here. What I'm going to do is just grab these three, and you're free to do whatever you want. But when you do your animations, there's a lot of different things you can do to space these out or kind of make the thing do some different things. But I'm just going to move these back. I don't even know how far I'm moving them. 8 spaces. And take a look and see how that affects this frame. So now he taps his foot, and it's kind of at a slower speed. He's not just constantly going so far. So the animation, you can see the bar, it takes a little longer to fill up compared to our other ones that are smaller animations. But that's fine. That's fine with me. It doesn't really matter because they can switch between states at any time. The second we press the controller, he's either going to jump or he's going to do the other one. He won't. We've animated our idle, our jump, and our walk. And now we're ready to start using a controller in the next video.